Commander Cockins and Captain Feld here yet again on another Wednesday Trekyards mission briefing. As you all know, is the more relaxed discussion show where we take a look at one of these amazing ships designed by the amazing designers, discuss, theorise, haven't done the research yet, but this is our way of sort of dissecting and looking at the greebles and saying, oh, that's a quantum, that's a photon, and having our bit of discussion fun, which then lets you guys say you're wrong, you're right, and give us even more great feedback for the comments, which help us make the full episode later down the line. And even some of the designers, Rick and Andrew, tend to give us comments, oh, you got that wrong sometimes. That's kind of funny as well. But anyway, what are we doing today, Stuart?
This week we are taking a look at a scourge on the Federation, the Dominion bug ship.
I see what we did there. Nice.
Well, you wrote it. It's not that clever. Anyways, just fly your model as you always do, and let's move on to the first picture. Any excuse to play with a model, I tell you.
Any excuse. What? I love them. I love the Eagle Moss ones. Right. So, Dominion Bug Ship. This was introduced in the season 4 episode Jem'Hadar when it blew up those the Galaxy class. That was its first big introduction. 3 versus 1, and we take out the D equivalent. What do you remember from its first viewing, and what was your first impression?
I thought it was the Zero of the ships of Star Trek. Kamikaze ship, because it did fly right into that Galaxy class. Small ship, but used properly in a suicide run, they're very, very, very effective, as we've seen many times.
And what do you think design-wise?
I thought it looked like a beetle.
Yeah. I get that.
I kind of like the color. I like the overall design. It's interesting. It's a cool little ship.
Yeah, I as I said before, DS9, I sort of stopped watching and I sort of restarted watching later on, so I saw it quite a lot later. The bug ship has always been kind of a, I don't know.
Is it a ship that bugs you, Samuel?
It is. Like a beetle. We've said before, this is kind of TIE Fighter of the Star Trek universe.
Yes.
You've said that before, and I thought it was quite apt, because it's kind of a strange one. You get the feeling that it's both powerful and really weak at different points in the series. Doesn't really have as much continuity, and so when I saw it, it's an interesting design. Like, it's that very fine line between Trek and not Trek, in terms of how organic and how shapely it is. But I think it still is on the right side of that line, and I never really liked it. I don't think if that's because it didn't stand out enough or it bugged me. But having now, as again, you hear this from us so many times, the physical model, I have a new appreciation for it. Like, I like how blatantly bug it is, and I like the different shapes, and I like the strange back with the space. Yeah, I mean, it's an iconic DS9 ship. This is kind of the Dominion ship. And I do like it, I think. It's not my favourite by any means, but I've grown to like it a lot more as I've evolved in my Trek knowledge.
A quick question. Do we know the class name of this ship?
I think it's attack ship, Jem'Hadar attack ship. It's not a cruiser, it's not a fighter. I think it's attack ship.
I kind of get a fighter vibe from it, but I'm wondering if there's an actual like Dominion class name for it.
Probably. See, that's the thing. It's too big to be a fighter. I have read though that it's got a very small crew. I don't know if the amount we do see internal sets, which is great in the show. But I never got a fighter vibe from it because it does feel so big. In its first big appearance against the Odyssey, we see it flying with a runabout, and it's like 7, 8, 9 times the size. And that's, I mean, I guess you could still call it a fighter, just a huge fighter, but it always feels like a very small attack ship. Yeah, it's like a Maquis Raider, but designed for longer missions and steroids.
Yeah. Comparing it to the Maquis Raider is a much more apt comparison. I always picture it though flying in formations with other ones, much like the Bird of Prey. So that's where I kind of get that fighter vibe. But then again, when you say that about the Bird of Prey, it's the same thing. They're flying in formations also during the battles, which to me screams fighter. But that's just because I love fighter jets and stuff.
I think that's just the difference between the Trek universe doesn't have fighters per se. I mean, no, it does sort of, but doesn't have fighters as primary. Mm-hmm. But it has smaller ships to work as the equivalent. I mean, when you've got an aircraft carrier is huge, but you take an E or take a D, it's even bigger. So fighters have to be upscaled just to survive one phaser blast. But anyway, back to this ship. This first picture. I believe this is the physical model. It's interesting. You have a lot of different appreciation for it when you have the physical because you see the dimensionality, but it's very thin and yet kind of bulbous in different ways.
One thing that I kind of think of when I see it, if you take off those two nacelles on each side, it looks very reminiscent of the original Cylon Raiders from Battlestar Galactica, from the original Battlestar Galactica. Especially the grating and the grill in the middle at the back. Kind of, I don't know, I just get that feeling from it. But you put the nacelles on, it gives it a totally new look. So,
well, it gives it the Star Trek look again.
Yeah,
I absolutely agree with you. I'm interested by scale on this thing. We'll see the scale later on. I know it's not big, but it's certainly not the smallest. When I look at this version, it feels different in person. But look at this version. I don't see windows, first of all. Or do I? Or are those very small white...
That's what I was wondering. If those are windows, though, this thing's a lot bigger than we think it is. But I don't think they are. I don't think those are windows, to be honest.
It could just be detailing. Yeah, because my look at this, I feel like that front section is like the command center, and that's maybe like 2 decks high, maybe, and that's the big communal space, and that wing section is just 1 deck. Like, it's very thin, very compact. I did think that front section was a shuttle bay, but now it looks like a torpedo launcher. It looks like there's a tube there.
Yes.
But I think we should move on to another picture to look at different sides. But I mean, like I say, it's grown on me.
Yeah, so the next picture is a really cool Orthos
fan design, obviously, or fan
but it looks amazing. And there you can see those are windows.
Yep.
But according to that, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 decks there ish. That makes the ship a lot bigger, I think.
At a length of 68 meters and 5 decks, that's wow. That does not feel proportionate. I mean,
yeah.
No, that doesn't. That's not
a crew of 12. No, that just doesn't make sense.
Because if you subdivide the ship, right? So if you look at the top left shot, you can see all the windows, and that's about a third of the overall length. So if you do 68 meters, so half of 68 is 34 meters, and then you sort of take make that a third. So let's say 28 meters, whatever, which is not huge. And those amount of windows, I mean, that's a good 15, 20 windows long. And while it is a slight curve, 28 meters. I mean, are you telling me those windows 10 feet long? I mean, that doesn't feel right to me. That feels very underdone.
Yeah, if this was upscaled, that would be kind of cool to have that many windows. But this is, with the measurements they have there, it's just not. Like the designers always say, you can tell the scale of a ship by the windows.
Is it just me, or does that front section, when they're all lit up, and especially in that 3/4 view, does it feel like a Galore class, like that top section with how many windows and sort of the scaling? That's the vibe I'm getting from that, which gives a whole different feel when you think of it that scale-wise.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I got to say about these Orthos, though, the side view, I love that. I love that look.
I love the amount of purple. I love the under. Yeah, I absolutely love the under purple sections. The amount of bright they did for the ship, beautiful, really, really nice. It's so interesting to have almost nothing on the top, and then boom, this full thing on the bottom. It kind of shows that that armor is to protect the bottom. That they're always gonna stay away from being able to shoot the bottom. As a bug, has armor, it has weak bits. I mean, that's kind of clever.
It kind of looks like a lightning bug with the way that back part goes on the bottom. So yeah.
But you've got crew 12 with that many windows, right? So basically they've got 7 windows for every crew, for every Jem'Hadar, and if you consider they have 1 Vorta, 11 people, right? Great. Oh, I guess the rest is Ketracel wide or just weapons, I don't know.
Would they have a Vorta on there? Would you doing attack runs? Seriously?
They would. I
don't think they'd be doing suicide runs with Vortas.
Oh well, why not? That we only see that a couple of times. That's not the predominant strategy. I guess they could just be firsts. They could just have a higher Jem'Hadar. That would probably.
I would imagine that's probably what it is.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I just think you always tend to see one, but that's just probably because you need a commander in those situations. Yeah. Sure. 3-phase Polaron beam emitters. They're a Polaron, whatever that means, weapon. 1 Mark 1 phone to pure tube. Okay. Varinthial double hull. Cool. And high density armor. And high level structure integrity field. Warp 7. Maximum cruise warp 9. Yep. Cool. Pretty decent stats, to be honest. And again, use spoke of this earlier. This is meant to be in a squadron, so that sounds like quite a beefy armament for such a small ship in a fleet of them. That's why they use them. You know, it's swarming you.
Mm. Anyway, let's move on to the next picture. This is a size comparison with a bunch of other ships from the Dominion fleet. It says at the top there too that the Federation Galaxy class is approximately the same size as the Jem'Hadar warship, which is the one in the lower left. So it's not super small, really. It's not runabout size. It's much bigger.
Yes, but at the same time, if you sort of compare those sizes, which I'm sort of trying to visualize, it's only, 4 times maybe the width. Like, put 4 different Galaxy class bridge modules put together. If that, you know.
Nah, I see it being bigger than that. I mean, if you're thinking that the Galaxy's the same length as that Jem'Hadar warship, the bridge module is going to be pretty...
Well, I'm trying to think. Do they mean... I was thinking like that's the size of the saucer, or do they mean length?
I think they mean length.
Right, okay.
I think the warship is... Okay. I think the warship's on par with the Galaxy class.
So it's probably six of those. What I'm interested in, though, is that it is the same size as Hideki, which is the Cardassian fighter. That specifically is their very small, scouty, fightery ship, which is meant to be very, very small. I think I did get a sense of that in the show in some shots, but in other shots I did think of them as being bigger.
Which, ironically enough, also looks like a bug. It looks like an earwig. It's just a buggy fleet.
Yeah. It is. It does kind of... Again, when they first appeared, you felt of them as being the attack ships. You know, these are capable enough. But then suddenly you put them on the same par as Hideki's. It's like, wow, those are just the fighters, just the small... Although I did play, I believe it was... No, it wasn't Fleet Operations. It was Star Trek Armada 3 as a Dominion, or as Cardassians, or a race. I could get Dominion bug ships, and they were so cheap to make. I do remember I did one battle. I was against the Federation, and they obviously had Defiance and Prometheus and stuff, and I had 3 different three different planets, and they all just continuously build bug ships. You know, every couple of seconds I just have a swarm of them because they're very effective. So that I do remember being a strategy. But that again, I always feel like they're bigger, but when you put them in comparison, especially the battleship, which I know is a size of Romulus Deredex, they are basically the fighters equivalent. You know.
Mm-hmm. It does seem too big for 12 crew, though.
It does, unless literally this component is the only section that is livable.
I think that's right. I think that's actually the way it is too.
That maybe they have one engineering space there that you know the engineers are, or everything's armored. That's all the warp drive. I mean, maybe that. Then I would, I suppose, get it. I still think the windows are off. If you half the number of windows, better. But I mean, we know for a fact that Jem'Hadar are literally genetically modified soldiers that are drug addicted for a war. I mean, these are
and
not...
they don't need windows. Why do they need windows? Because they don't even have a view screen. Because
that's very true.
The Jem'Hadar aren't supposed to know what's going on. It's just the one in charge that's supposed to have the display, right? So it doesn't even make sense for the ship to have a window. It's not like they're going to go to the mess hall and hang out and stare out the
But you know they designed the outside of the ship before they invented that whole there's no view screen. So that's just conventions of design, and then we're going to make something unique out of it to give whoever the reasons for whatever. I mean, that I can forgive. Although you could say maybe they're not windows, maybe they're Polaron shield matrix disruptor points. Yeah.
Sure. Let's move on to the next picture, and this is full orthos now, which is very nice. The engines on this one from the side seem a little bit higher than the other side profile view we had.
How do they reflect? Yeah, they're about the other model. Again, I love the amount of purple on the engines. I love that design. I like just the subtle extra curvature. You know, that bit, and then less. I like that. And the bottom bit, really fun. I'd be interested to know what that is. Do you think that could be the Bassards?
Probably the equivalent, yeah.
Or what if that's all the impulse drive, and that's why it has huge maneuverability? So probably pushing it a bit.
I would think for the impulse drive would be that center section that's all glowing, the ribbing. I think that might be a huge impulse drive because these things are very maneuverable, as you said. Yeah.
Okay.
So that would seem to make sense to me, and then the warp ones be the nacelles, of course.
I'm leaning towards that my theory might be correct. If you look at the top side view, that the neck portion is slanting forward quite a lot, as if it's the head of the beast. That is just the living quarters, and the rest of it is just armor to protect, or like I say, the impulse drives. Because if you're going to build a ship with high functionality, you build a big engine, big power generator, big. You just need another section.
And they're not about comfort, those guys, for sure. So.
But this is a nice looking CG model, and I like it. What do you think about purple as a color, and how oddly we've already done the Jumperhead battleship, and that has a lot of strange colorations. What's your take on the whole design?
I'm a big fan of a deep purple color, especially deep neon purple, and also blues. Those are two of my favorite colors. So I absolutely love the color palettes of these ships, especially in space against a black backdrop. They really pop and they really stand out to me. So I absolutely love the color palette of the purple.
Yeah, I wasn't as in favor of it originally because it seems sort of odd. I love the neon bits, but how many different variations in color on the hull, it seems, for the sake of it. I'd love to know if there's a reasoning behind that. There might be different style of armor, different, I don't know. But I like it more now. I like how... I'm not going to say organic, even though it does feel organic, but that's not the reasoning. It feels... I think just detailed. I like... It wouldn't look as good smooth. It wouldn't look good. Because you can imagine this design in the 60s, but you just have it, be the simple shapes, just the armor, just the bottom. You can imagine it just losing all detail. It wouldn't have the same interesting factor, but I think as it combined, it works really well.
Just gave me an interesting thought. I just TOS'd this up and made it a Federation design with Federation nacelles on it, TOS style and white with the registry number on it. That'd be interesting. I want to see somebody do that.
Photoshop. There you go.
Next one. This is from Star Trek Online. Jem'Hadar attack ship. So kind of an advancement on the one we saw in Deep Space Nine. I like it. It's the refinements and changes they've made. Rounded out the nacelles a bit, added some more glowing parts to the edge of the shielding around the back. I am very much liking this.
It's it feels
it's also got better attachment points to the main body. It's not as flimsy.
Yeah, it feels like this is a much more lived-in ship. They've got that entire front section looks like it's a whole ship. And then again, they've streamlined, they've shrunk down the armor at the back. It looks a little more generic. Sorry to say, I think. Sometimes I think adding too much extra detail does detract. I think if the wings were a little bit bigger at the back, it's cool. I like it. It does feel more functional, but I think a bit more generic. That's a difficult one, but yeah, I like it. The next ship is another set of orthos, and we should probably read the information first.
Well, this one has 3 decks according to the windows, which makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, those windows, that window scale I can get behind more, although badly drawn because they hit the edge of the thing, but that's okay, it's fan stuff.
All right, so let's not much to talk about on this one. Just it's interesting to see the different deck levels that you have there. This one's much more realistic. So, but let's move on to the next picture, and that's a squadron of them, or a few of them anyway. Nice to see. I like the squadron formations. Watching those fly, even with the bird of prey, it's just something very dynamic to watch, and I really enjoy that.
Yeah, they did a great job with the battle sequences. They really did. Yeah, I mean this. All of a sudden, it feels way more like a swarm of insects, and that's what they were going for. But it does have this hive mentality now. Like your brain links in that it should be insects even more when put in a group. So I wouldn't want to fight this.
I'd like to see the Borg fight the Dominion.
Oh, that'd
be interesting.
That'd be interesting. I do think I'm always a Prometheus lover. Just send me Prometheus now. I'll happily bitch slap these 3.
Oh Jesus!
I mean, not even gonna remotely stand up, but that's just me. So,
as you're separating your ship, they're just gonna fly in.
All 3 ships oh no! Yeah. Anyway, and the last shot is another Drex Files or just great shot of the details. This is interesting because it's a much more bright shot, so we can see some extra details. Like there's some.
And it's worth pointing out, too, that on this one, we got 3 decks window-wise, which seems much more realistic. So it's 3 or 4 decks, at least. which for the size I can definitely buy.
And we can see at the front there's 3 nodules, I suppose. I mean, they could be the polaron disruptors. And there's also 4. Looks like to be tubes on either side. They probably aren't torpedoes, but I think that would make a lot of sense if they were torpedo tubes, because that'd be a hell of a assault run.
8 torpedo tubes, yeah, absolutely.
But I like all the little details throughout the hull. There's nice little pops.
So there's a little part in the middle there that looks like a bridge module. Do you think that's a bridge module? Do you think they would put the bridge on top like the Federation? Doesn't seem to make sense for the way they think.
No, I think that's some sort of sensor.
Or a shield generator, maybe.
Well, that's even worse.
Well, yeah, I guess.
I think that's just a sensor dome thing, and they just resonate. That's just like the forward sensors. No, but yeah, I get the feeling the way they build their ships, it's literally right in the middle, with more armor around it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, interesting ship. Any closing thoughts on the Dominion bug ship / attack ship?
Not so much. I was not a huge fan of it, but I did enjoy watching them in action. And like I said, I like the color palette for the Dominion. So yeah, definitely seeing them flying in groups of like 3 or 4 as squadrons was very cool. Very dynamic visuals.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's one of those strange DS9 ships, but I'll always link it with DS9. I mean, I know we didn't see it in any other show, that kind of helps towards that. But yeah, this is kind of the DS9 Nemesis ship, not the film, but just the one-on-one. This is the ship that everyone fights, and it's almost the red shirt of the Dominion fleet. That's
why I said it's like the TIE fighter of the Star Trek universe, because there's so many of them and they just get destroyed on a regular basis.
Yeah, you would say poor Jem'Hadar's are 11 on them, so I mean, meh.
Yeah.
And that is it for another Trekyards mission briefing this week. You all seem to love Dominion, so we threw you a bit of a Dominion there. But if you guys want to see more Trekyards weekly, and we love to bring you weekly shows, then either do a one-time donation to support us at our website, trekyards.com, click that donate button, and that'll go straight to our PayPal, and you can give us whatever you think would be fantastic. But if you want to support the show regularly and help us have the freedom to actually put the time in to make better shows with amazing guests, because we love our guests, don't we, Stuart?
We do. All of them.
Happy Valentine's Day, guys. Not that was ages ago. Yeah. Then please go over to our Patreon, which is a monthly donation service where you can put $1, $5, $10, whatever you want, put it in the background, and that just comes to us every month. And with all of you guys' help, coming together and helping the show, we can keep the show going, which we really want to do because we love bringing it to you every week. And that is it for another Trekyards mission briefing. Tune in next week for another one with another cool ship or shuttle or station. Who knows? Until then, guys, this is Commander Coggins.
And Captain Foley.
And we will see you next week.